Hockey Hall of Famer Bobby Hull, nicknamed the Golden Jet, the all-time leading scorer in Chicago Blackhawks history, has died at the age of 84. Rob Wong joined alongside by Steve Simmons and Michael Traikos. And gentlemen, on the ice, Bobby Hull was one of the most talented players to ever lace up the skates, but off the ice was not without controversy. Steve, how will the Golden Jet be remembered?
Well, I feel lucky, to be perfectly honest. I got to see him in his prime with the Chicago Blackhawks. You know, it's not how many days I said I'm lucky to be the age I am. Today's one of those days because Bobby Hull was 2, 3, 4, the most exciting player who's ever played in the NHL. Just a phenomenal guy to watch. The way he came up the ice, the way he carried the puck with the hair flying and the big slap shot before anyone really had the big slap shot. And he scored over 900 goals in the WHA and the NHL, and only 2 other guys did that. Their names are Gretzky and Howe. So you're talking about elite, a la elite, top 10 player of all time. Unfortunately, in Bobby's case, his life wasn't so top 10. He had problems. He got into some difficulties, and it meant that he was kind of a pariah around the Blackhawks and around the game. But you have to separate the two, really. You have to look at the player and look at the person and appreciate the player and maybe not so much the person.
Steve, you showed your age. I'm going to show my age. I don't have any recollection of Bobby Hull, the player, but you know what? I'm more familiar with Brett Hull. And, Brett was a chip off the old man's block. And what I do remember or recall of Bobby and the influence of Bobby Hull was that curve on his stick. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, not many guys had that banana curve on their stick. And I remember as a young player, even my dad saying, oh, you got a curve like Bobby Hull. Let's heat it up over the stove and let's get that slap shot flying. So that was the impact for me, is this larger than life kind of personality, sure, but also that slap shot. And, you look at guys like Ovechkin and Patrick Laine, and you can see the Bobby Hull influence throughout the league, even though these guys probably hadn't even seen this guy play aside from maybe a YouTube highlight.
Yeah, but you want to go bigger picture? There's NHL teams in Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg. There would not be, and there was in Quebec City, there would not have been any of those teams had it not been for Bobby Hull going to the WHA and making that league credible. Those cities come out of the WHA, and they've showed, there would never be a hockey team in Edmonton. They wouldn't. Winnipeg, are you kidding me? But Bobby Hull went to Winnipeg from the Blackhawks, and he made that league credible, and it showed the NHL that they could play in other places. And honestly, that if you want to talk big picture impact, that's the single big picture impact that he had on the game, especially in our country.
Hull won a Stanley Cup with Chicago in 1961, was a 2-time Hart Trophy winner and 3-time Art Ross Trophy winner. Bobby Hull, dead at the age of 84.